Good afternoon, you guys. I almost said good morning because I'm used to coming in the morning, but it is 5:19. My name is Kendra Moore, and it is time to rise and shine. And I am just going to get right into it. So, you guys, it is almost November. We legit almost have 2 more months until the end of the year, and we are rolling into 2026. So let me ask you a question. Are you where you want to be compared to the beginning of the year? Because, every year we do, our New Year's resolutions or goals, or even if we don't write it down, we have in our mind what we want to accomplish for the new year. So let me ask you this. When you think about what you said you were going to accomplish in 2025 at the beginning of the year, did you do that? Did you hit some goals? Did you develop into the person that you intended to be come this time right here and now? If the answer is no, then this podcast is for you today. If the answer is yes, then this is for you today, because we all can use a greater push coming out of 2025 and going into 2026, right? So if you are ready to get some momentum to restart your trajectory of where you want to be for 2026 and kind of start that now before the holidays kick in and all of that, then I have some great personal development resources for you. Now, I have 5 resources. I may throw in an extra 2 more. But let's start with the first one. I have a mix between podcasts and books and a YouTube video. So whatever your flavor is, I have it, because I am just in this personal development era of my life. So the first one, and this is in no order, no particular order, but you guys are going to be maybe surprised, more than likely. This first resource is actually from Charlemagne the God. You know Charlemagne the God. He was on Wendy Williams' radio podcast when she was in New York. That's where I first learned of him, right? Got fired from there. Now he's got one of the top radio and podcast platforms in the country. Well, he actually has this book. It's called Black Privilege. Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It. Black Privilege. Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It. So he has a book, but he also has an audiobook. You guys, I have been listening to the audiobook. I encourage you to get the audiobook because it's in his voice. And if you know Charlemagne the God, he's so just says what's on his mind, but his tonality, and you just feel like you're sitting across from him having this conversation. Now, Charlemagne comes from my home state, South Carolina, and he talks about, growing up in just a small one of these like one traffic light types of towns in South Carolina, and how he was able to elevate from there. He talks about his childhood, his relationship with his father, the friends, the cousins, and then when hip hop hit the scene, how hip hop was able to get him through to where he is today. He even goes into interviews that he's had with celebrities, but all the while Charlemagne the God is talking about his life experiences, he's actually bringing you life lessons, right? So he's just using his story as an example of life lessons. You guys, this is so good. It is raw. Again, Charlemagne the God. So I wouldn't recommend it for young ears, but if you're like in your 20s, or if you know somebody who's like a troubled kid, then that might be good for them to listen to because he is so real. But I'm telling you, get Charlemagne the God's Black Privilege. Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It. Whether you get his actual book or listen to the audio book, you will love that. That podcast or that resource is going to be great for you. Now, on the complete opposite end of Charlemagne the God, another resource that I have for you guys is Jim Rohn. Now, Jim Rohn, if you're familiar with like John Maxwell, these types of speakers. Jim Rohn is like that, but Jim Rohn is like the godfather of leadership development, personal development. He actually started a life insurance company that I believe ended up being Primerica, if I recall correctly. But Jim Rohn traveled the world giving thousands of leadership personal development speeches. The one that you should listen to, especially if you are not where you want to be in 2025. And when I say that, I don't just mean from a financial aspect, but even from your own sense of who you are and what you can accomplish and what you want to do and just growth. Jim Rohn, this is on YouTube. This is called The Proven Way to Live Your Best Year Ever. You guys, I just spent 3 days listening to this podcast. Listening to his YouTube talk. It is phenomenal. It is a video as well. So it's him delivering a talk to a group of professionals. In here, he gives you, the only thing that I can describe it is like a blueprint for life. What, how you should be thinking about your day to day. What should you be reading, listening to? He even goes into the importance of taking photographs to capture, the moments, being in the present moment, being able to do hard things, not complaining because taxes and government. And this is an old video too, but he really pushes you that you can create your own opportunity no matter what the external world is happening around you, right? So and we know the state of the world today right now is kind of bananas, right? But you have to not use that as an excuse. So he talks about that. Like there are seasons, right? God has created seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall. Winter, spring, summer, fall comes every year. What happens in the winter, right? It gets cold, things die off, right? There's a underlying rejuvenation period, followed by spring where there's growth, followed by fall where there's shedding of things, followed by summer, which is the happy time. So why do we think our life is not going to consist of these 4 seasons, right? Because it's in nature. That's part of God's law. So of course, we are going to go through those 4 seasons as well. So what's the blueprint of what it is that you need to be doing to prepare for those seasons and to thrive in all the seasons and to learn lessons and to make an impact on your community, on your loved ones in all the seasons? So that's Jim Rohn's The Proven Way to Live Your Best Year Ever. That is on YouTube. Check that out. The other one that I would say, now this is coming back again, multiple different resources. So we had Charlemagne the God, we have Jim Rohn. That's the next one that I'm going to give you. Really surprised me, but it is so good. Whether or not, even though it's geared towards women, whether or not you're a man or a woman, you can take stuff away from this. So this is a podcast called Date Yourself Instead. Let me get this young woman's name. She is like in her 20s. She went through a really bad breakup, which is why she started this podcast. But this podcast, Date Yourself Instead, and her name is Liz Boss, LYSSBOSS. Now she's changing that podcast to be more all-encompassing. So I would go back to the old episodes up until, let's say, 2 months ago and listen to those episodes. Excuse me. If you are a type of person, if you're in a situation where you are coming out of a bad relationship or you're looking to leave a bad relationship, this podcast is for you. Now, myself, that doesn't apply to me, but what I love about her and her podcast is that it helps you really understand the power that you hold just by you being you and how to maintain your standards unapologetically, your values unapologetically, into what it is that you want when it comes from a partner and the expectations that you have yourself and not compromising on those major expectations. So this is a great podcast to me, even outside of the dating world. Just when you think about change, when you think about wanting better, right? When you think about navigating relationships, whether it's love relationships or whether it's work relationships or friendships, where you feel like, I don't know if this person should be a part of my circle, but I like them. I have ties to them. How do I kind of pull myself out if I need to pull myself out? Or how do I set boundaries if I need to set, like, what is it that I feel about myself? How can I build myself out so I can go out into the world, my true, authentic self, and not be apologetic about that? So that's Date Yourself Instead. That is a podcast. I strongly recommend that you listen to that. Now, the other one is a book. Again, Date Yourself Instead is by all my resources. I'm telling you guys, like, to me, I'm like, in the Bible, God speaks through, what is a donkey, right? So for me, I will take input from any place. So we have Jim Rohn, we have Charlemagne the God, we have Date Yourself Instead. These are three totally separate personalities, individuals. They're just so different. The other resource that's even different from those three is, this is one of my favorite books. Oh, I hope I pulled it down. Did I? Oh, I had it in my hand and I grabbed a different book. Oh, man. Okay. So the book is called The Black Rose, and it's still on my bookshelf in my other room. I thought I pulled it. But The Black Rose, that book is about Madam C.J. Walker. That book is a great book when you want to learn about business, the importance of quality in business, starting off a business, the good, the bad, and the other ugly. So, of course, Madam C.J. Walker, you know, she was around, oh my gosh, she became a millionaire off of hair care products. So let's see, what year was this? Madam C.J. Walker. So Madam C.J. Walker, they did a movie with her. I didn't care for the movie. I'm going to be honest with you. Get the book. So, oh gosh. Now it's just talking about the movie. Hold on. I don't want the movie. Let me do this. Because one thing I loved about Madam C.J. Walker is she did not use an excuse when it came time for her to develop a business that allowed her to elevate her and her family. So this was she was born in 1867 and died in 1919. She was an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a social activist, and recognized as the first self-made female millionaire in the United States, born in Louisiana from enslaved parents. So again, the book is called Black Rose. If you are thinking about entrepreneurship or you are in business, this is a great book to read. So she developed a line of hair care products. That's what she is known for. And that's what made her millions. But you guys, she started franchising her business. We're talking like in the late 1800s. This woman was brilliant. So that's one of my favorite books. So that's 4 resources. The 5th one that, I had to go back and forth on this, but I'm going to give you 2 extras. So the 5th one is called, and I talked about this before, I believe, is The Courage to Be Disliked. This book is really, really good. It's very straightforward. It is a conversation between a philosopher and a young man. And it really helps us understand how we really can determine the direction of our life, no matter what environment that we were born in, what skin we were born in, what circumstance we were born in. The Courage to Be Disliked will challenge you to drop the excuses and really go for what you want. So that's why I really love this book. It's a really great read. It's not too thick at all, but I would put this on my list. So again, you guys, just to recap, we're talking about how to get momentum coming out of 2025 and 2020 into 2026, right? So if you are not where you want to be professionally, financially, mentally, personal development wise, I'm dropping resources that I think are absolutely just really great to kind of get you that momentum going into 2026. Hey, Robert Dickerson says, yes, she was ahead of her time to build and franchise during that time. You guys, we're talking like the late 1800s. Here we are in 2026, and we make all kinds of excuses. And we want to blame this person, blame the economy, blame the government, blame our parents, blame this, blame that. I mean, come on. We have access to the internet. We have AI now. There's no excuse as to why we cannot get done what we want to get done. Yes, I'm not saying it's easy. Of course, it's difficult. I'm not saying you're going to get it done tomorrow. Of course, it may take longer. Oftentimes, it takes longer than what you think it's going to take. But to absolutely just give up and just have a bunch of excuses. When you read someone's story like Madam C.J. Walker, and I think her book was the first business book that I ever read, and she really inspired me to be more than just an employee, to really start to try to put my ideas into something concrete and just start going for it. Sometimes that's all we need. We have all these ideas in our head. Can we snatch one and start working towards that idea? Yes, we can. She did it in those times with all the pressure and the stress and all the things against her. I know that we can do it in these times. All right, so that's The Black Rose. That's Courage to be Disliked. The other book, and then I'm going to close out by giving you, let's see. So many books. Which one am I going to? Okay. So, two more books, and then I'm going to end with another audiobook. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I had talked to you guys about this before. This is a book when you talk to and listen to people who are very prominent in business, have built a lot of wealth. They oftentimes credit this book along with Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. These two books, read them, read one, read both eventually, but these should be on your list. It really has to do with your mindset as it relates to money. That is something that is so important. That is something that is keeping a lot of us from achieving what we want to. Do you know that a lot of people are afraid to actually succeed? They won't admit it, but they're afraid to actually succeed in life, right? Because that means that they have to change. There will be a change in the people around you. If you are not succeeding with the people around you now, when you start succeeding, people are going to drop off, right? People are just going to fall off. You're going to have a whole new crowd. You're going to have a whole new mindset. You may be talking different. You may be dressing different. You may move. You know, there are big things that happen when you start to become successful, right? And a lot of times people are afraid because that's uncomfortable. You're going to have to put yourself out there. People are more comfortable being comfortable. So that's why they stay in the same state. So these two books here, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and Think and Grow Rich, are two must-have books if you are looking to level up in 2026. But prepare to get uncomfortable, because that is what it's going to take. If it didn't take being uncomfortable, then you would already be where you want to be, right? All right. So my last resources, and you guys, I'm dropping a lot of resources. So I'm hoping that you at least listen to one of the podcasts, listen to Charlemagne the God's book, Black Privilege, read Black Rose, Courage to be Disliked, one of those two books, definitely both of those at some point in your lifetime, but going into 2025, starting 2026 with one of those two financial books. And then the last one that I thought was really interesting, it's a very short listen to. Um, it is an audiobook called 12 Laws of the Universe. The 12 Laws of the Universe really helps to put into perspective what happens in nature and how we can take the things that happen in nature and adopt them to our lives in terms of the way that we think, the way that we communicate, and etc., and have an impact. That one's hard for me to explain. It's one of those that you have to listen to. But once you understand the laws of the universe, then it helps you to put in perspective things that you see happening and, how you should react to certain things and how to understand things that we see and hear. So that's the best way that I can put that. But 12 Laws of the Universe, a short listen, but it's a really good listen for Spotify. All right. So I am going to once and for all recap the resources to get you momentum into 2026. Charlemagne the Gods, Black Privilege, Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It. Jim Rowan's YouTube video, The Proven Way to Live Your Best Year Ever. The podcast by Liss, Lyss Boss, I think her last name was, Date Yourself Instead. Black Rose, the book by Madam C.J. Walker. The Courage to Be Disliked. So this is Akiro, and I can't pronounce this, Kashimi, a Japanese author. And Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And then you have the 12 Laws of the Universe by Spotify from on Spotify, well, an audiobook, wherever you get your audiobooks. Between those resources, you are going to get personal development in terms of your confidence, in terms of relationships, in terms of business, in terms of finances, and just really everything you can grab out of life to how to grab it. So I hope you guys like those resources. If you pick something up and you read it, please hit me back. Just let me know. But if you have resources that you think are great resources for people to use, feel free to drop it in the comments. But otherwise, I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week on Time to Rise and Shine. So see you next time.